Fashion again. Welcome to my studio. I am thrilled that you're going to be joining me on this Pull Toy Odyssey. We are going to learn quite a bit about energy and motion and proportion and also fashion design. There's a lot going on in this lesson. And then we're going to be able to make our own pull toy. And it can be a themed toy if you'd like, if you want it holiday themed, or if you want to dress it in whatever clothes you want it to by drawing and coloring, you can be able to do that. Stay tuned till the end of the video, and I have an interesting fact about toys to share with you. All right, let's get on to my presentation. Today we're going to be learning about kinetic energy and how it relates to art. Kinetic energy is the energy in which a body possesses by virtue of being in motion. So we're going to be looking at things that are in motion today. All right, our objectives for today are define what kinetic energy is, which we just did, identify the two types of energy, understand what proportion is and apply it to your work, create an original functioning kinetic artwork with correctly applied proportions, and explain what fashion designers do. All right, so here is our first quick video that will be explaining to you the two types of energy involved in kinetic energy, and we'll go ahead and watch that now.
With their high speeds and bright colors, you may find it hard to believe that roller coasters have been around for more than 200 years. The basic science behind roller coasters has remained the same. It's the science of forces, energy, and motion, called physics. Like any other amusement park ride, roller coasters need energy to work. But it's what happens to that energy that makes roller coasters unique. First, the cars of a roller coaster are pulled to the top of a steep slope by either a chain system or another machine for pulling and lifting, called a winch. These machines need energy to work, but this energy doesn't just disappear. It is changed and given to the cars of the roller coaster. What is this energy changed into, and how does it go from the winch to the cars? An object sitting still at the top of a hill has stored energy due to its position. This position gives it the chance or potential to move down the hill, and so we call this stored energy potential energy. As the cars of a roller coaster are pulled up to their starting position, they are gaining potential energy. The higher the cars are pulled, the more potential energy they gain. And once there's enough potential energy, the fun begins. As the coaster cars zoom down the track, their potential energy is turned into another kind of energy. If potential energy is the energy of position, what do we call the energy of motion? Kinetic energy. Both this potential and kinetic energy rely on a fundamental force of the universe, the force of attraction between all things that we here on Earth feel most strongly as the downward pull of gravity. When roller coaster cars go over the top of the ride's first hill, the force of gravity pulls them downwards, turning their potential energy into kinetic energy. And as the cars climb the next hill, the kinetic energy is turned back into potential energy, which is then released again as kinetic energy, and so on. Alternating between these two types of energy makes for an exhilarating ride.
All right, so here is the potential energy and the kinetic energy connection. The potential is as it's going up, and then involved with gravity, the kinetic energy pulls it down. So when we're talking about the human body, kinetic energy is also generated by us when it is in motion. For instance, a runner builds up kinetic energy that starts in the feet and legs and is generally converted to heat. That is why runners and other athletes start to feel hot when they are running or exercising. Kinetic art is the art that depends on motion for its effects. Kinetic art can be powered in different ways. Can you name all 3 ways? Our featured artist is Anthony Howe. Really, really cool dude. I gave an art in service a number of years ago to the art teachers, and Anthony Howe was our featured artist. I was able to easily reach out to him, have a conversation, was able to use what he shared with me back to my teachers. In fact, he was very honored that I was actually using him as my focus artist for that particular lesson. He's just a great guy, and his art is just amazing. I love this quote of him that he has. It's, "Let's go sit on the patio and watch the whirligig." So what is a whirligig? It's going to be something that the wind blows, like the propeller on this train, and causes movement. Kinetic art is art in motion, and we're going to watch a really quick video of how Anthony Howe's artwork moves. Here is one of Anthony Howe's kinetic sculptures, and you can see how the breezes and the wind are moving his pieces back and forth, creating this beautiful display. How can kinetic art move? What forces are at work? Well, we've kind of already talked about the nature one by seeing his video, but wind isn't the only one that can make things move. This one happens to be a device in China that had been in use for hundreds of years to help them in determining when there was going to be an earthquake. There could be a mechanism inside of it that when it's triggered because of the movement of the earth, it would spit from each of these little dragon mouths a ball into the frogs' mouths below, and that would help them in understanding what direction the earthquake may be coming from, depending upon how the balls were spat out in time to the frogs' mouths below. But this was an earthquake detector machine. So I think that's a pretty novel and beautiful way of creating that. Of course, motors could run on batteries, which would be DC electricity, or outlets, which uses AC, alternate current electricity, versus direct current. Here's one that runs on electricity. So people can move kinetic art too. Here's one. For your assignment, you're going to be creating a kinetic pull toy using a simple pulley system and kinetic energy. And we're going to be applying classic proportions to create your figure. How many heads tall are you? Well, if you're in my classroom, we're going to take out the rulers and start to measure and see how many heads tall. But in comic books, they sometimes want to make you 7 or 8. This head tall theory kind of harkens back to the early Greeks, who were the first that were really obsessed with science and math and proportion, which means how one thing relates to another through measurement. So if we were to take these two anime characters, you can see that they are both 6 heads tall, with a few things being common here. Of course, your head would be the first head measurement we would use. Then, of course, underneath it's your neck. Halfway down, that would be right around in here where the it's split in the middle, 3 on top, 3 on bottom, would be approximately where your waist would be. If we go down here, about the middle of this 5th head might be up close to where your knees would be. And then down here at the bottom, your ankles and feet. And this is just a general one. There are small variations, but most people kind of fit into this category pretty easily. And then the really last topic I want to talk about is that since we're going to be creating a pull toy, our pull toy is going to have a humanoid shape. And so we're going to be applying proportion through that. But you'll probably want to put some clothing on them. So this ticks off one of the boxes I'm required to teach you from the Florida state standards. And that is career opportunities in the art world. So here I went on just a quick little Google search, and I found a whole bunch of just famous fashion designers. That's all I put into the search bar. And these were the first ones that came up. So I want you to just notice something here. A lot of the times, young children think that that's something that girls are interested in. And they're the ones who are drawing beautiful dresses at your age and all sorts of things like that. But let me rest assure you, look at the list here. It is about equally divided between men and women. In fact, 50 years ago, it would be mostly all men. Women are just now starting to make a name for themselves and be considered famous fashion designers in their own right. But for sure, it's an equally divided realm. And that's because I personally think men and women both have to wear clothing. And most of the time, we want to wear things that we like or are comfortable in. And so you might need fashion designers for both. So here's some up-and-coming fashion trends for men. And then here's just one I picked up for women. But you can find both when you look up fashions for men or women on the internet and see what's going on. All right, so your assignment is to create that functional kinetic pull toy of a person with correct proportions. Be a fashion designer and dress them in something appropriate. Hey, and if you want to apply a theme to your art, you are welcome to do so. I'm going to probably show a themed one in my pull toy, so get ready for that demo. Things that you'll need for this lesson include a piece of paper, but if you don't have paper, a piece of cardboard. Mine happens to be cardstock, which is a little stiffer than the ordinary paper. Ordinary paper is going to be a little too fragile when we do the pulley system. It may tear easily or even destroy your artwork. So you do need to have something that's a little thicker on hand. This could be like the back of a cereal box, or maybe a box that you've received something shipped to your house in. It could even be a backing to something that you may already have that came packaged, like a picture frame. Anything like that would work. It just needs to be a little stiffer than ordinary copy paper. And then I have scissors. I have a bead, but a button would work just as well. If you don't have brads, you might be able to just figure out a way to do it without the brads. The paper fastener brads work best for this, but you might be able to figure out and apply those STEAM skills to bypass that. And then we have a hole puncher, but if you don't have a hole puncher, your scissors can make holes for you, or you might even have a sharp pencil to punch a hole. I'm gonna use a pencil to draw with today. You will need some string, but yarn would work too, or sewing thread would be fine as well. And then lastly, you'll need some things to color with. So get those handy as well. If you don't have markers, crayons work just fine. And then lastly, of course, you need your imagination to make some beautiful artwork today. To get started today, we're going to take the top edge and fold it down to the bottom edge and give a little pinch in the middle. When you open it up, it doesn't really compromise the structural integrity of the paper where that crease will be all the way through. You can kind of bend it a little bit like that. And then our first step today, since we know this is the middle, is we're going to need to make 3 oval heads on top and 3 oval heads on the bottom. So they need to be about the same size. So if you want to measure with a ruler or guesstimate where they're going to be, you can even use something like a tool, like a pencil, to say, oh yeah, I want each one to be measured to that point on it. So that's another way of doing that as well. So I've got my measurements. So now I'm gonna lightly, but I'm gonna actually be pressing a little darker for the video so that you can see it. I'm gonna make some ovals here, but you do yours lightly so it's easier for you to erase. And our first step is we're gonna do some of the connective areas. So I know the neck is gonna be connected to the torso. The torso goes to the waist, which will be about here. So let's bring out some shoulders. And we will taper that inward. And then I know from the hip and thigh, it's gonna go down to about the middle of this for a knee. And then I'm gonna give it a little bit of a calf and bring that down. And I'm gonna do that on both sides. And then I've decided on a theme. I'm gonna do an elf. So I'm gonna give him some crazy shoes down here at the very bottom. And we will need to go ahead and do some arms because the arms are part of the pulley system. They need to be a little longer than they would normally be. If you stand up and tap your hands against your legs, you'll see that really your hands are going to be somewhere down here. And I know halfway between there and there needs to be an elbow. So I'm going to do the top part of the arm, bottom part of the arm. Easy hands for kids is a mitten, so just draw a mitten. And then add a few lines. This would be a great time if you wanted to add anything in your person, your pull toy's hands. Mine, because he's an elf, might hold a toy or a present, but that's up to me. I've decided this time not to do that. All right, at this point, I would go through and I would erase all those circle lines that we had made to help us get the proportion correct. And I'm gonna go ahead and give him some big elf ears. To keep with the theme, I'm gonna give him a great kind of elfy Santa sort of hat. Maybe give him some crazy elf hair. We're gonna give him some happy eyes because he loves his job. And a big smile. Give him a chin. Give him a shirt line. Mine's gonna have a vest on for making toys so he can carry all his supplies around. So he's gonna have a bunch of pockets for that. He might carry something like a hammer or even a screwdriver, a pencil, maybe even some scissors or some toys that need to be repaired. I'm gonna give him some striped on his shirt. And on his hat. And for the bottom here, I'm gonna give him some shorts to wear, but make him wear tights underneath it. And now I think I'm ready to do the coloring. All right, so my next step is to cut out my picture. And I want to just give you a quick review on cutting. While you're cutting, the hand you're not dominant in, the one that isn't going to be holding the scissors, that's the hand that's going to be doing the turning, and you're going to do most of your cutting away from you. If you start doing weird things by cutting in different directions, like towards yourself, you lose the cutting edge of the scissors and makes it harder to cut, and you might accidentally cut yourself. So let me go ahead and cut this out for us. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and talk about how we're going to do that pulley system. So the way that we're going to do it is we're going to put 2 holes in the top of each of the arms. So here's my hand down here. So we're going to put 2 holes. And again, if you don't have a hole puncher, you can definitely use a sharp pencil to make your holes, or you can just cut it with a pair of scissors. But basically, this is what we're looking for, is just 2 cut holes, one on top of the other. All right, so next we need to put 1 hole in each shoulder. So I'm gonna make it close to the top, just like so. And then I'm going to put the brad, the paper fastener, the end that has the little knot, I'm gonna put that through to the front. And then on the back here, I'm gonna make this go through the bottom hole if you're looking from the top of the shoulder down. So you can see a little bit of that top one there. So how would you fix that from not showing? You could bring the arm down lower. If you were to make the shoulder hole further down, that would cover that up. Or if you just have a lot poking up at the top, you can trim some of that off too. It doesn't bother me though. I think it looks really cool. So I'm not going to let that bother me for this. So once I have that through that second hole, I'm going to do in this, I want to make sure I get pretty close to you. When I bend these back, and there's a 2-prong little thing here, I don't want to bend it all the way flush to the paper. It's best if it's just bent a little bit above it. But I don't know if you can see that super well or not, but that brad is not flush to the flat of that paper. There's a little gap that's there. That gap is real important, or else your arms won't move freely when we attach the little pulley system. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the brad in the arm with the next one. So put it through the top shoulder, put it through the bottom hole on the arm. Oopsies, that one wanted to jump away. Stay away, I say, or come close to, yes. All right, so here we go. And then again, when I do the bending process, I just bend it so it's not flush to the edge of the paper when I bend those back. Okay, so it's not exactly flush to there. Okay, so now I've got 2 freely moving arms, and if yours were too tight, you just needed to loosen up that back part. All right, so now I'm gonna flip it over to this side. And we're ready to start on our pulley system. All right. So I have my string, and it is about twice the length of my arm, not my pull toy. And I'm going to start off by telling you that I have slipped a different colored piece of paper here so that you can see the white over the color now. And I am going to put this through on top, through the top hole here. So I went from the top and went inward. And now I'm gonna take this one and go through the top again, like so. Now I'm gonna take both of these and I'm actually gonna go underneath this string in the middle. So you can see I put my finger, it's right underneath it. So I'm gonna go underneath here. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. And then I'm gonna take both of these strings and I'm gonna go back underneath that one there. So I'm gonna take both of them, go underneath it. And that usually makes a pretty good connection. You could go underneath it one more time, but as you can see, they have no problem being pulled now in unison. And we are done with this part. There we go, excellent. Now, really our pull toy mechanism is done. We can add a bead at the end. This is a little difficult to show you on camera, but look, if I pull the string, his arms will go up. Gravity is going to bring his arms down, and I can pull them up again. So it's like he's doing jumping jacks with just his arms. So, and it's really quite effective when it's up in the air, when his arms just drop back down because of gravity. Now, if you want to add a string at the end, really it's going to be up to you how long you want this string to be. If you want to be able to just hold them in the middle and pull from here, then you could cut this string after, if you want to. I'm actually thinking that I could just make it down low. So I am going to just take a bead or a button or anything and just thread that through the bead. And then I can just crisscross applesauce, bring that worm up through the hole so the bird can eat his food, and then pull that nice and tight, and then do that knot 2 more times. So again, I crisscross applesauce, bring the worm around up through the hole, and then grab it nice and tight, crisscross applesauce, bring that around through the hole up above, and then pull it nice and tight. And now you have your pull bead that you can use, makes it a little more decorative. You could add several beads if you wanted to, or buttons for that. And that is our completed pull toy. So congratulations on making a pulley system. So again, the potential energy would be pulling him up, and then the kinetic part would be when his arms fell down. All right, stay tuned. I do have a little bit of a bonus footage. If you want to take this lesson a little bit further, you will need to have 2 additional paper fasteners for this. So get ready for that. Okay, so for this part, it's a little bit of a bonus. I'm gonna make his legs go too. So to do that, I'm gonna need to cut his legs off. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to attach it by first punching 2 holes. And these holes can be slightly off center too. They don't have to be directly above each other. I think something like that would be okay if you wanted to do that. And then here's my other one. All right, so again, we will put this in the bottom. Oh, but we do need a hole here too, so that we can attach his legs. Okay, so now I'm going to line these 2 up like so. Again, do the same thing. Do not make it super tight when you press it to the back. And then here we go here. On this one, the bottom hole. And now, I have my string here with no bead. All right, so to do this next part, I'm going to take my strings and I am just going to go through here, again, going top to bottom. And here, going from the top side to the back side. And now I want to also go across here. So I'm going to take this one and go into this one. This is the opposite side. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Again, going from the top inward, because I want to unify these two so they'll move as one. There we go. And what I can do now, if I want to, is I can go back together and bring these down below. So I'm going to move these out of the way because they're kind of getting in my way here. So I move these back, and again, I'm just going to go underneath here. There we go. And now when I pull them, they will both go up together. So I know that my pulley system is correct. If I need to go and loosen this, just kind of pull some of those strings so those arms will actually lay down. And then again, I can pull these. Oops, that one got caught. And you can see that they are now both going up together. Now, when we pull the pull toy, both the legs and, I don't know if I can show you that more easily, but both legs and arms go up. So he's like really doing jumping jacks now. And that is going to be my bonus footage. So you can definitely do that if you want as an extra. Again, put back on the bead like we did in the last video, and you are done. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did. It sure is fun making things move. Oh, I hope that you enjoyed that lesson. I know that I have so much fun pulling that little bead, making its arms or legs go up and down. So fun. All right, so for your interesting fact of the day, the oldest known toy store is in London. It was built in 1760 by a man named William Hamley. And it was originally called Noah's Ark, but then its name changed to just Hamley's. It is still in existence today in London. It's one of the biggest toy stores. And what interesting fact is that, hey, it was actually bought back in May of 2019 by a man who lived in India, and he paid over $88 million for the store. Woo! Who knew toys were such big business? Okay, so now I just want to remind you to always be kind to everyone you meet. Do someone's chore in the house for them. Be nice and help them out. And as always, keep on making great art.